Good morning, people. How you going? I'll give it a couple of minutes for the notifications to go out and we'll have a bit of a chat about a post that I've just posted to the page that came through our inbox, because I find this extremely concerning. After reading the Indue letter, I'm very suspicious. Okay? And again, it's to do with Indue... Sorry about the messages. Indue not closing accounts properly. So I had this message come into my inbox from somebody who's been off the Cashless Debit Card for quite a while now. And as she says in her message, right, she says, I was successful in getting off the Indue card around 2 years ago now. I was one of the first few people to get an exemption. My account was supposedly cancelled when I was exited from the program. I've since moved from Hervey Bay to Brisbane, and today a new Indue card showed up at my house. The letter states that my old one is expiring. Well, she shouldn't have an old one because she's been exited from the program. So why has she got a new one? You know what I mean? Your normal bank doesn't do this. If you close an account with your normal bank, they don't send you a new one when your old one was about to expire because you've closed the account. This doesn't add up, does it? She's very concerned about how they got, and she says here, I'm very concerned about how they got my new postal address and why they sent me a new one when my account should have been closed. All right, and she attached the letter that she got. So let's have a look at the wording of this letter. Your existing cashless debit card. Well, that's wrong for a start. This person has been exited from the program for over 2 years. Will either expire. All right, so her old card was, the expiry date was up at the end of this month, or has been damaged, all right, and in brackets, and you have requested it to be replaced. No, she didn't ask for a replacement card. Why would she? She's off the card. I find that statement there saying that she has requested it be replaced when she has not. Okay? It's like saying that she's volunteering to go back on it when she hasn't. Please find enclosed your new card, which you will be able to use immediately. Please note that your new card does not have to be activated and that the 16-digit number and your PIN have not changed. I asked this person, do they still have access to the portal? She doesn't remember the password anymore because it's too long ago. All right? But I'm very suspicious of this letter. Because, yeah, it's the newer card that has the, and she can activate its tap and go facility. But the thing is, she shouldn't be getting a card, period. She's off the card. She should not be getting a new one. So I've suggested that she ring Senator Anthony Chisholm's office straight away. And I've also suggested that she ring the hotline number and find out, are they trying to put her back on the card? Or are they trying to trick her into activating the card, therefore volunteering to go back on the card? She now lives in Brisbane. I can tell you now, from people who live in Brisbane, there's all hell going on down there with people on cards in Brisbane because they can't use it enough, right? I'm very concerned about that in brackets, that you have requested it to be replaced when she has not. She came off the card 2 years ago, right? It's disgusting. I think she needs to make politicians aware of this. I'm making people aware of it right now. She's gladly sent me the screenshot with the card there so everybody can see what they're doing. And I'm worried that some people will reactivate their card thinking that they've been put back on the card if they get new cards, and therefore they're tricked into volunteering back onto the card. Right, I don't like that. In brackets, you have requested it to be replaced when she did not. Right, that is just not true. Right, you know, please, hang on. Now, next step, sign the back of your new cashless debit card immediately with a ballpoint pen. For security reasons, you will need to make a 1 PIN transaction before you can start using the tap and go. Pay your insert card. Select credit or credit when you enter your PIN. You can then tap and pay, all right, with purchases for under $100. All right, so the normal tap and pay stuff insert your card, press savings or check or credit. All right, please destroy your old card by cutting it diagonally in half and disposing of it securely. She probably doesn't even have her old card. All right, this needs to be looked into more. This is getting ridiculous. The amount of people that get off the cards is small, right? Majority of people get knocked back. But to keep this scam going, this woman got off the card 2 years ago. And here they are, because the old card expiry dates come up, they've sent her a new one, as if she's still on the card. They'll probably say, oh, it's just an admin error, a clerical error. But this is what's happening, because the card, Indue just sees that the card's expired, the account's inactive, but it's open. So they automatically send her a new card. Your normal bank does not do this. If you close your normal bank account, you will never get a new card from them unless you closed it today and they just sent a new card out, you know, this week, because your card was expiring anyway. And then they'll let you know when you get your new card, just cut it up because your account's closed. It's useless. You can't use it anyway, right? But they close accounts properly. They also have very good privacy. Now, as we were alerted last week to Alicia's post, the privacy issues with these cards being left open, right, where Indue transfer the onus of responsibility that if anything happens while that account is open, right, in their name, without their consent, while they're off the card, they are liable for anything fraudulent activity that happens to that account. What? How can a person who's no longer on the card be responsible for an account or any fraudulent activity that might happen to that account after they've been removed from it? Your normal bank doesn't do that. And another thing too, why are they still holding this person's data? What are they doing with it? What are they doing with the information from it? I don't know whether she has children, but if she has children, they've got her children's data, all right, and they still use the mother's maiden name. And that's another thing people are starting to gripe about. It's not just about your data, your personal privacy information, it's your children's information, but it's your mother's maiden name is used all the time as well. Why? Okay? I mean, I'm not in the card region, I'm not on the card, but if the card came to me, why would I have to put my deceased mother's maiden name on their details? My bank doesn't require that. So why does Indue require that? What do they want that data for? You know? So, Ryan Jefferson, which institution holds the actual money for the Indue cards? Is it federal government bank account or private financial entity? As far as we could figure out, it could be Bank of America. Yeah, Elaine McAllister says, who gave her address to Indue? Was it Centrelink? Yes, Social Services Australia, when they, when you get put on the card, Services Australia hand over all of your Centrelink details to Indue for them to be able to create the account in your name, right, and then take 80% of your income and put it on that account without your consent. Somebody's asking me, how much is this costing? It's crazy how much the government is paying for financial abuse of people they have nothing to do with, right? Okay, so initial setup at this stage is $13,000 startup, and then we know that Indue are getting a monthly payment each month, all right? We don't know how much that payment is, but if you look at the Services Australia website, or you ask an LMP member, they'll tell you that the card's only costing about $823 or $800 and something a year, all right, which is a load of rubbish, because there's the $13,000 setup payment that goes to Indue, and then they get their monthly payments as well. You know, Indue is a private financial institution, right? And because of the legalities with the Protections of Payments Act, which cardholders are exempted from that law, Okay, so Social Security Protections of Payments Act law, Commonwealth Act 1991, 1999, states that once a Social Security payment basically is paid into your bank account, it becomes your legal income. It is your fiscal worth under the Banking Act. That's how they rate your credit rating, okay, from the income that's coming into your personal bank account. When you get put on a cashless debit card, that money never reaches, the 80% of that money that Indue hold never reaches your bank account. So therefore, it's never legally your income in your bank account. It can't be seen in your bank account. The result is it's no longer your fiscal worth, right? So your bank can no longer include that 80% of income, even though it shows up on your income statement, right? Because they can't see it in your bank, right? So this is a real concern. And then Indue owns the money. They're getting given the money. It's getting given the money. Elaine Malika says, you meant where Indue given her. Well, this is another thing. How did Indue get her current address when she's been off the card for 2 years, right? You know, again, they've gone to Services Australia, right, and gone ding, ding, ding. Who gave them the right? No one. And this is where your privacy is invaded, because Services Australia are handing over all the details, you know, without consent. All of it without consent. It's getting beyond a joke. I mean, this lady's been off the card for 2 years, right? Another lady, Alicia, that came out with the similar thing with her card issue, she only got off the card like in the last couple of weeks, and she's already fighting, you know. All right. So Ryan Jeffner, if Indue is supposed to be for all pension payments, then that means all politicians should be on. Yeah. Well, see. Yeah, I think she's still on payments in Brisbane, but that's irrelevant. Doesn't matter. She's outside of the card region. She got off the card. Even if she's on payments in another region, there's no reason to send her a new card unless they're putting her on the card in Brisbane. Brisbane is not a trial region. Hervey Bay is, right? So they're coming back at her 2 years later and trying to give her a new card as if she still lives in Hervey Bay. She can fight that, and I've told her to do that too. There's not 60,000 people already on the card, all right? I don't know where you got that announcement from, but yeah, you've got that a little bit wrong, Marie Maxfield. At the moment, there's just over 15,500 people on the cashless debit card, right, throughout 6 regions. They want the whole of the Northern Territory basics card to transfer over to the cashless debit card. That would bring it up to 38,000 people if they got that, but they haven't got it yet, right? There is not 60,000. I don't know where you got that information from, because I have February's DSS stats that show me how many people are on it, in which region, and what payments they're on. However, 40% of people that are on the cashless debit card no longer live in the trial regions, and that is causing a lot of trouble. Well, ABC are misrepresenting, because as it stands, you've got 15,500 people across the country on cashless debit card, and across the whole country you've got, I think it's 33,000 people on basics card. So Ryan says Indue cards, in my opinion, are basically a direct form of discrimination against people on Social Security. Absolutely. But it's racist and it's classist. This card is nothing short of human rights violations and discrimination for Vicky Matthews. Yes, it is. It breaches Article 9 of the UNHCR. It breaches other international human rights and domestic human rights laws. And, of course, with the removal of protections of certain laws, protections of payment, protections under the consumer law, protections, statutory law removed, privacy, freedom of, self-determination, basically culture and stuff like that. It breaches everything. The Adelaide University results have clearly shown it's a failed program. So, or it seems to be that people on the cashless debit card have no privacy rights, Elaine, because Indue and Services Australia can share anybody's information with Indue whenever they like. Because remember, under the new bill that went through in 2020, the delegate can actually decide to put people on it in a way. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of digging that needs to be done. You know, I would agree that they're in breach of privacy rules, but people on the cashless debit card are exempted from the protections, remember? See, one of the biggest hurdles that Scott Morrison had as a social services minister was how was he going to get around the protections of Payments Act law in social security law. So he exempted forced cashless debit card holders from the protections of that law because he can't repeal it. It's a Commonwealth Act. He can't repeal it. So he exempted people from it so he could go around that law. All right? So Christy Hayden says, coercive control is illegal in relation to domestic abuse. The cashless debit card is basically the government committing coercive control on people who are receiving benefits. Absolutely. But every time I've stuck my hand up about coercive control, it's always been shot down. Oh, we're talking about it in a domestic violence, in a personal relationship status, not on that scheme. The government have been given a free pass to commit domestic violence on people on social security on a broad scale. It's financial abuse. It's what I would call financial apartheid, right? It segregates people from their community, you know. So yeah, and yeah. So Ryan says no wonder the LNP don't want a federal ICAC. Absolutely, because if this all starts getting in, if Labor get in and they investigate all this stuff, all right. The thought in the back of my mind, if Labor win the election, you'll see so much shredding. There'll be so much shredded because there'll be so much hidden. Because they'll leave such a mess for Labor to try and dig through what they've done. Because it's not just with Social Security, it's every portfolio has got a problem with, rorts and rorts and rorts and rorts and, so controlling someone's money is domestic abuse. That's right. It comes in under domestic violence laws, that if you're controlling someone's finances, you're committing domestic violence. And this is it on steroids, aimed at people on Social Security and all payments. You know, so it's just disgusting what is being allowed to go on. Marie Maxfield said, you know, ABC are putting out misinformation. That doesn't help. Ryan says, was there an official tender process for the system to ensure they chose? No, there was no official tender process. Okay, and that information is public. Ryan, if you want to read up on a heap of stuff, go to www.thesayno7.com, our website. The link is also on the page here. Everything's there. Reports, government reports, everything. You'll find so much information. All right, thanks to Amanda from SN7 who built the web page and has documented everything. Costings, everything. You'll find everything you need on that page. Okay. No. Even with no, because so Christy Hayden says, is it possible that 60,000 is the cashless card and the basics card added together? No, because even then. Or they might have 50,000 cards printed, ready to go. All right? Because at the moment, 33,000 or a bit less than that. So say 30,000 on basics card across the country, 15,500 on cashless debit cards at the moment. It's 45,000 cards printed, maybe. But they've only got 15,500 people. I mean, I could dig you up the figures exactly to the person, but at the moment on cashless debit card. So yeah, so not one person on the card was assessed before they were given it. It arrives in the letterbox. That's the first thing you know that you're going on the card. It arrives in the letterbox. Usually it comes with a letter stating how to activate your card on the online portal and how to set up your rental allowance. You didn't, and this is where it breaches the consumer law, but Indue have been given a letter of no action so that ASIC doesn't take action against them regarding the solicitation part, where they've just taken your name, opened an account and put your money in it. So Christy Hayden says, isn't Indue associated with Larry Anthony, former Nationals MP and son of former Nationals Deputy PM? Okay, in 2013, Larry Anthony was the CEO of Indue. He stepped down from that role. Okay, in 2014 and 15, and it was revealed in, and we've got video of it as well, called out because Larry Anthony had lobbying firm and Indue were one of its clients. That then suddenly ended up Indue being taken off of the client list for Larry Anthony. But, but as of this time, there is no paper trail, no proof that Larry Anthony is involved. But he was, okay, he was the CEO, he stepped down. So, Darren Pratt says, what do I think of the digital identity bill and the total loss of privacy to government and big business? I haven't read the digital identity bill, actually. Because the only people I've been I tend to ignore Malcolm Roberts quite a lot because he blows things out of proportion, but he doesn't stand up for the rights of people on Social Security. And he was happy to legislate these rights and protections and human rights breaches away in law in the Senate with Pauline Hanson. So I will look into the digital identity bill at a later date, but I'm not really worried about that at the moment. The main thing is to get Labor in, get rid of the card. If this digital identity bill is coming in to make things cashless, I don't, the cashless debit card is forced third-party income management by a private company. Profits for private entities, which entrap people into Social Security and a life of poverty. All right? Tim Gout says someone had their card activated by somebody at Centrelink, which is usually classed as fraud. Yes, I had one lady who didn't want to activate her card 3 years ago, and the Indue staff member at the Indue shop front in Harvey Bay activated it and set the card up in front of her without her consent. It took that lady 2.5 years to get off the card. She did not activate the card, as in she did not use it. They tried everything. They refused her for opt-out twice. They accused her of neglecting her children for refusing to accept to use the government money that was in it. This person was working full-time, by the way. So they'd snatched all her parenting payments and her COVID supplement and her end-of-year supplements for 3 years were on that card. It was a lot of money. $35,000 was stuck on that card. And she took it to AAT Tribunal, and in 10 minutes he overturned the whole decision. But then they decided they wanted to get another payment out of the government, obviously. Their payments are obviously set up annually on the financial year. She should have had her money returned to her within 30 days maximum. They actually strung it out for 2 more months so that it went over into the next financial year before they refunded her money and took her off of it. All right? So, hang on, I'm just looking. Just reading comments, people. Hang on. Oh, look, there's so many issues with the LNP. So the LNP are denying, hang on, so I can't open that link while I'm on live, but Mary Maxfield says, this Centrelink information, how do we convince other pensioners, aged, disabled and carers that the threat is very real? Well, we've already got over 1,000 people on disability support pension on the card in 3 regions. And in 2 of those regions, they've been on it for 6 years. All right? Can't help it that One Nation, Pauline Hanson, wants to go, no, they're not on it, and ignore them, and when they've rung her office, hang up on them. She's done that to a lot of people. All right? Carers have been on it in 3 regions and in 2 regions for 6 years, in Kalgoorlie for 4 years, right? And now they're going on it in the Northern Territory and in Cape York. Okay? And they're over 36. In those regions, it's ages up to 67. Cape York does not have an age cap, and there are 26 age pensioners that have been mandated under that program onto the card, and there's 9 volunteers outside of Cape York region that are on age pensioners. So it's only 9 age pensioners have volunteered for the card. 26 did not volunteer for the card. But see, the Liberal Party are trying to play it that Cape York doesn't exist. It's those people up there, they're Aboriginals. So when, Anne Ruston's trying to say, we're never going to put age pensioners on the card, you've already done it. What people? Oh, that's not our program. But they merged that program with the Cashless Debit Card program to get funding and also to get an extension, and they wedged Labor to do it in 2019. They won't get away with that again. The people of the Cape York region who were under the Families Responsibilities Commission's program, they never wanted the Cashless Debit Card. They wanted to keep their Basics Card program. It was a different program run by community elders and overseen by the state, and it was working for them. All right, it's a very small population up there, but it was working for them, and they wanted it. They had their support services, their wraparound services, case workers for the people that were involved in that program. They've lost all those supports now. So, So, Tim, your costings are a bit out. We found costings of up to $310 million, and that's without stuff that's still hidden in under commercial in confidence. So, in the last 6 years, $310 million plus their commercial in confidence, and all forward costings are now not for public release. All right. So I'm just trying to. Tim asked before people volunteered, were they well informed? Probably not. Probably not. I can't imagine anybody from the department sitting down, well, if you volunteer for this, you've lost your consumer protections, you've lost your privacy rights, you've lost your statutory rights. Apparently it's easier for somebody who's volunteered to get off, right? So Marie Maxwell says, you're an aged carer with an adult daughter with a disability, and so many people in our community don't believe will happen to us, even though it's already happening in some areas. They are disconnected from that and believe the rhetoric. Well, there's plenty of carers on the card caring for elderly parents and disabled adult kids and disabled children that will totally disagree with those people who don't believe you. I'm sorry, you can't get people to believe it. I can post the stats up, and it'll show you. What I can do. Hang on, give me a minute. I'll wake my computer up, and I can tell you the stats as of the 4th of February, as to who's on a carer payment and who's on. Just bear with me for a minute, because I've got to find the particular. There we are. I'll open it up. So in Ceduna, there are 43 on carers payments, and there was 168 people on disability support pension. That's as of the 4th of February 2022 from the DSS stats directly. In East Kimberley region, which is Kununurra and Wyndham, there are 74 people on the carers payment, and there are 356 disability support pensioners on the card. In the Goldfields region, which encompasses Coolgardie, Canambla, Laverton, Leonora, Boulder, Kalgoorlie, of course, big area, a real big area. right? There's 184 on the carer payment and 613 on the disability support pension. Okay, Bundaberg and Hervey Bay, those payments are not trigger payments at this time, right? And Cape York region has under 5 at the time on a carer payment, and they have 19 on a disability support pension. And the Northern Territory, not for publication, they're not telling us how many carers that are on it at this time, but there are 31 disability support pensioners on it, as they try and coerce people to transfer from their basics card to their cashless debit card. Okay, now with the Northern Territory basics card program, and I don't usually look at the basics card stats, but I do get them. I'll have to dig it up because I've got this on hand for this. You'll find, I can probably look up, they may have changed their layout, I'm not sure. I can look up on how many are carers, how many disabled, because the basics card covers all payments, including age pensioners in the Northern Territory. So, and this was one of the reasons why they couldn't get the original bill through in 2020, because it would have rolled over all the age pensioners off of the basics card onto the cashless debit card, right? And they couldn't be seen to be doing that. So they did it a different way by going, you know, people can volunteer in the Northern Territory to transfer from basics card to cashless debit card. But of course, nobody's going to get full informed consent of what rights they're going to be losing. I doubt if they're going to get to read this and have it translated in several different languages, because you're dealing with several different communities. And I don't think anybody's going to explain this to somebody who's volunteering first. I can't see that happening. Do you know what I mean? Because if anybody knew the terms and conditions properly, they would run a mile. They would just run a mile. They would just say, no, I'm not doing that. You know, because there's too much data being sold. There's too much personal information, private information that's drifting anywhere and everywhere. People have no control where their information is going, right? And their lives are being controlled. So, so we don't have anything to do. Well, hang on. I don't know the answer to that question, Marie. All I know is that, so Marie's talking about the changing the legislation to classify age pensioners welfare. When I first went on to disability support pension, it was a protected payment, and so was age pension. It's paid under the same social security budget, right? It comes out of the same money, right? But it's not. It was always protected payment, and it seems to no longer be protected. But when they talk about the cashless debit card, they try and keep ramming in working age payments. Now, they keep moving the goalpost on that, because for people with disabilities, working age used to be under 49. Then they moved it to under 55. And now working age payments is under 67, right? Or under 66 and a half, depending on when you're born. But there's going to be age pensioners up in the Cape York are on this card. They're not going, if LNP get in, they're not going to race it all out. Age pensioners will be the last cab off the rank, because they're the biggest voting, you know. We know that. But and the excuse will be, it'll be for your own safety, because they've got your grandkids on it, they've got your adult kids on it, and you're the only one left having access to be able to draw money out of the bank and have freedom to do things with your money. And a great deal of grandparents help out their adult kids that are on the card, right, and buy things for their grandkids, because mum can't do it on the card. And that they want to stop that. As Alan Tudge said way back at the beginning, right, he was asked a question at a public meeting, all right, what was the main aim of the card? Was to take welfare money out of the communities. And that's exactly what it does. That's exactly what it does, right? Takes money out of your local economy, funnels it through to multinational businesses, right? And it doesn't generate revenue properly within your community as it should. Result is across the country in card regions, empty shops, right? People, the markets collapsed, you know. Excuse me. So it is not only about control, privatisation, the sell-off. I view it as selling people to Indue for profits, right? Because they're paid an initial payment to take over your life. It's like you're being sold as a commodity. But it screws with the local economy of your region as well. So I see that as a financial national threat to the economy, because Social Security is supposed to be an economic stabiliser for the country, not something that's for profits that people can snatch and use and invest elsewhere. And meanwhile, there's all this money being thrown around, like we saw yesterday, with the more money being thrown around, because it's getting close to election time, so we've got to open the purse strings a bit, you know what I mean? For the third time, throwing money in, saying to create jobs for cashless debit card holders. Well, job agencies are supposed to do that as well. They're supposed to help get people into work. But the people on the card are not getting any proper raise. I don't call the CPI increase for somebody on JobSeeker $6 a fortnight a windfall. You know what I mean? And pensioners $10 a week or $20 a fortnight. That's not a raise. That's the CPI increase for March. And but the people who need income the most, the low paid workers and the people on Social Security, are on the bottom, left out. When you take money out of the economy, small businesses close. That's right. And that's what's happened all across the country. You know? And people on Social Security spend every cent of their money in their local community. But when it's diverted to Woolworths, Coles, Aldi, right? And other mainstream businesses, Harvey Norman, instead of being able to buy a second-hand something, you've got to go and save up and buy a new one. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm just... Mary Maxfield, you can look up the data stats. I'll find you the link afterwards. I get them sent to me every month, but you can look up DSS data stats. You know, cashless debit card participants. You'll be able to Google that information. It's out there. It's public information. Don't panic, but don't bother trying to look for it on the on Services Australia website. You need to look up DSS stats. Okay. If I can find the link, I'll put it in after I've done the video, because I don't normally manually go and Google the link, because somebody sends it to me every month as an update. And I just screenshot what I need for the month. So, yeah. So, anyway, guys, the main thing is they're still not closing these damned accounts for people that have been let off the card. And now to find that they're sending out new cards to people that have been off it, I'm worried that they're trying to, activate your card and get back on it. No. But the main statement that I'll close with that was in that letter that lady received was actually putting that she had requested it to be replaced, which she had not. So, for that lady, I'd be saying, get on the phone. You know, contact Anthony Chisholm, or get on the phone. Get on the phone to Services Australia and say, what the bloody hell are you playing at? I did not ask for this card, right? I do not consent, and I will not be activating it. Simple as that. So, that's the bottom line. People need to stand up for themselves really hard at the moment. They'll do anything to put people on this bloody card at the moment. Okay? All right. Take care, guys, and we'll talk again later. See ya. Don't activate the card yet to this lady. Yep. Thanks, Tim. See ya.